No, I have 6:30. You're good? Call the meeting to order. Someone would like to offer prayer, or I can do that. All right, I'll do. Dear Jesus, we thank you for this time that we can gather together. We thank you for each one of these individuals here this evening, and we thank you for your knowledge and wisdom to bring to this table. We ask that you would guide us in decisions, and thank you that we have this opportunity to serve our community. In Jesus' name, amen. Next item is approval agenda. Anybody have anything they need to add?
Move to approve as presented.
All right. Is there a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Meeting minutes. We have minutes from the April 8th meeting.
Motion to approve.
Second. Is there a second? Motion by Hart, second by Whalen. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries as well. On to claims. We have claims this evening totaling $1,069.17. If you'd like to look at it. Mostly electricity and some bookkeeping type stuff.
Move to approve.
And a copier.
Yes.
And a copier.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries as well. Public comment. Seeing none, we'll move on to reports to the committee. I guess Andrea is here. Thank you.
Thank you. How's everyone this evening?
Good.
How are you? Beautiful.
Yeah, it's hard to be inside.
Yes, it is.
Well, I'll start with some kind of administrative housekeeping stuff to kind of bring you up to speed on the partnership. Sorry, I'm going to move this way so I don't see it. The partnership approved a new revised mission and vision statement as well as our strategic plan at our April board meeting. So there will be more kind of public rollout of that communication to all our partners will be forthcoming. But we're excited to have moved through that process, had great input from Eric, and then I'm working with the team internally to look at timeline for all of our strategies as well as to develop those work plans. That will inform how we're reporting out to both the county and the city and the progress measures that we're talking about. So more information will be forthcoming on that. Becky Eberly will be joining our team starting next Monday in the administrative support position. Tess Dom was gracious enough to come out of retirement to fill a position for, since about late fourth quarter of 2023. We're excited to have Becky come on board. And last week I posted the position for a development services manager. This is basically the role that I had before moving into the executive director role. So timing allowed, cautiously estimating that maybe we'll be fully staffed by July 1. So looking forward to that day. As you can see from a further agenda item, I've been busy working alongside our government partners on a new development for Millrace Crossing, which will be discussed later, but also working with another individual who is very interested in the visitor center. So they're in their due diligence phase. We've been connecting them with state resources, met with DCEO as to what programs he might be qualifying for that business. As well as other regulatory agencies for the type of business he's putting there. It would be a change of use, and it would be something that would be new to this area, but would be very compatible for that location right on Route 20, and it would draw a lot of traffic. So we're excited. So more hopefully forthcoming. I will distribute community guides if you don't mind. There will be, these are the community guides for 2024, hot off the presses. So these get distributed throughout the Collier counties and we work with a distribution channel to go up to Madison, into the suburbs. And Nicole Haas works very diligently to kind of work on those contracts and strategically push this information out, as well as we have many mobile kiosks throughout the room or the community that we refill on a monthly basis or as needed. But I will leave some here with the committee. And then Saturday, May 11th, we have Wine Fest in downtown. I would be remiss without plugging that event. But moving on to some other economic development, we, shortly after our last time we met, we hosted our manufacturing roundtable. We had about 20 attendees and representation from over 9 different manufacturers from throughout Stephenson County. And kind of variety from Honeywell to Inertia to Snack King, so all gamuts. Representatives from Highland Community College, Freeport High School, as well as Career Tech. Very good conversation about how to get kids engaged and interested in careers in manufacturing. So it was instrumental in having our educational partners in the room to really talk about how manufacturers can plug in and where they can show up at job fairs, and then even go further in offering job shadow opportunities as well as internship opportunities to really try to build that relationship and to help kids understand what's being made here in their own community. So we will continue to work with both partners. Manufacturing is key. One of the follow-up items from that is coordinating a webinar with the Illinois Manufacturers Association. They have a reimbursement grant program that helps employers pay for training, reimbursement up to 50%. So we're just hosting a webinar, have IMA come on board and provide more information as to how this can be a tool for our local manufacturers to train workforce. I was recently at the end of last week, Illinois Enterprise Zone Association, as well as Illinois TIF Increment Association. So the Enterprise Zone and the TIF Association finally decided to join forces, still 2 separate organizations, but they have a joint conference, which I appreciate, one less drive to Springfield. And that was the end of last week. Many interesting seminars. One particularly, Mark Densler, who's the president of IMA, gave a really interesting update. IMA is they do a lot of things, but advocacy work on behalf of manufacturers. And one of the things that I think he believes is kind of, I think he used the term globbed up in the Senate or in the House, I can't remember one or the other, is a bill on food additives. And that would potentially have a negative effect on some of our manufacturers here. It would put Illinois on more stringent than California on some additives that would be banned from being put into foods. I can't speak to you on the details of that bill and what those additives are, but it could be at a cost to the manufacturers. So he believes that will not go through. But trying to bring any information home that could affect our local employers here. We are working with Region 1 Planning Council to coordinate a broadband and fiber infrastructure planning meeting that will be held locally at the Stephenson County Farm Bureau building May 16th. Invitations are being distributed, but it's really talking about trying to map what broadband and fiber we have both in Freeport but in Stephenson County, and where does fiber need to go. This is a multi-county kind of mapping and planning exercise with the hope that then this would make us eligible and position us for future grant applications to get some infrastructure in terms of broadband and fiber being built out. I know some of this work has been done kind of previously by iFiber, but I believe that is no longer, iFiber is not really disbanded, so, right. And yeah, absolutely.
Because I know I got an invitation to that too.
Yes.
And what are they wanting from participants? I guess, do you know, or are they just wanting discussion?
I think it's just discussion and the idea of having a dialogue around, if we are to put broadband infrastructure, in the ground, fiber in the ground, where should it go? Where does it make sense to go? Where are we likely going to see growth, et cetera? So, yeah. And if I have follow-up questions, I'm happy to kind of delve into and see if I can get more answers for you before the meeting.
I know that they've connected most of the schools in Stephenson County.
Yeah.
So I was just curious.
There's a handful of the schools, Highland, there's a handful of businesses. I know the hospital here, there is a ring, and there are some buildings in downtown, but not everything. But looking out, the Lamb Road corridor, where are we likely to see other future industrial infrastructure? I think it's important to have that conversation so we can position ourselves for future planning.
Who's putting that on, Andrew?
Region 1 Planning
Oh,
Council.
okay.
In the past month, we held kind of a culmination of our base camp, which is our entrepreneur small business startup. That was in the middle of April. We had 12 participants go through that program. I think we had 8 people participate in the pitch competition, which culminated in 4 individuals getting a sum total of $2,800, if you will, in prize money. So it was a fun evening at the Eagles Club. I think it was a meaningful impact for those individuals who participated, helped them get some knowledge in how to start or improve their business plan, as well as help to build a network of entrepreneurs. And there was a lot of good kind of cross-pollination, if you will, of different ideas and support. So we look forward to doing this again in the first quarter of 2025. But looking at the end of kind of third quarter and fourth quarter of this year, we will be putting on some kind of one-off entrepreneur classes that might delve into specific or specific issues that we hear a lot from small businesses. One would be social media and marketing, how to handle those things. So there will be more information forthcoming as we get closer to that. We're working on a wage survey that would be distributed to our HR roundtable. This is some feedback we got from an earlier input from an HR roundtable. Wanting HR representatives to really have an understanding of what is a low, median, and high wage for this area in certain positions. So we will distribute that to all of our partners, ask for their input. They're pretty gracious on sharing that information in a friendly environment, and they're really kind of open to learning best practices from each other. So we're happy to facilitate those conversations. That's it in a nutshell. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
The meeting you went to with the enterprise zone and the TIF,
Yes.
those were the associations.
I'm sorry, what were
Those were the associations.
Correct. So there's the Illinois Enterprise Zone Association. I'm actually the secretary for that statewide organization, and it's, again, statewide economic development practitioners. Enterprise zone administrators can elect to be part of the association or not. They typically have a conference twice a year, and it's a good time to understand any upcoming or legislation that might affect the enterprise zone. We always hear from the head of basically the enterprise zone. His name is Ben Denny from DCEO, about any sort of reporting requirements that administrators need to adhere to, any feedback from the zone. And it's, again, when there are other people doing the same thing you're doing in other areas, it's always helpful to come together every once in a while and, share best practices. And then the Illinois TIF Increment Association, or this is the association around TIF.
Right.
That is often, there's a heavy crossover on the same people attend both of those conferences. So finally, the two organizations just decided to say, we're just gonna have a joint conference, which makes a lot of sense.
Are there a lot of TIF council there? Is that who attends the TIF thing usually? That's one big segment of it, or no?
Typically, the people who are administering and dealing with TIF are often municipal employees. And so you will have a heavier, I would say, this is not a hard and fast rule, but typically a lot more enterprise zones are administered by economic development organizations or someone at the county planning level. Typically because enterprise zones are countywide. And then TIF are based upon municipalities. So we have a countywide TIF, but or one that's outside of an unincorporated area, but most of the time it's a municipal employee. But it's helpful for me to know in terms of redevelopment agreements, information about TIF.
Thank you.
I hope I answered your question.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
On to you.
Hello. This month, last month, I'm sorry, $6,705.42 was deposited for the month. Total to date is, I believe this is approximate, $24,473.56. Nicole and I attended the IACZO conference at Starved Rock State Park. Topics discussed down there were the battery energy storage facilities, short-term rentals, the new wind and solar regulations through the state, and our records retention regulations. We had County Board Member Bill Hadley come into the office to discuss some information he receives from the IACBM. And he now forwards the information as he receives it, and some of the information is worthwhile to our office, so we appreciate that. And County Board Member Jim Hart contacted us with a question from a constituent pertaining to the solar farms in the community. We got that information up to him right away, and I received an extra email from someone from that constituent asking about the solar farms as well. Nicole and I have been out on the roads completing occupancy certificates and checking setbacks of new construction. Building permits are starting to slowly roll in. We're hoping with the nicer weather, people are going to start building soon. And residential solar permits are coming in strong. Last week I had, I think, 8 to 10 of them, and I've had 2 today already, so. That's about it.
You do the city too, or?
No, not the city, just county. Yep,
County,
the unincorporated.
the unincorporated.
Beth, what were the meetings you went to? You
The
said you mentioned 2
IACCO.
acronyms.
IACCO is the Illinois Association of County Zoning Officials.
Mhm.
It's our professional network. We hold one in person yearly and then 3 to 4 via Zoom throughout the year.
Mhm.
It's just where we talk about what's going in our counties, any regulations that are going through the state. This time was, a lot of people had questions on the record retention regulations, so they had someone there from that office.
Mhm.
Short-term rentals, we're seeing more and more of those, that I have to have people come in for special uses, so that was discussed. And the battery energy storage, so that's the meeting we had gone to.
Gotcha. I just didn't know what the acronym.
Sure.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Soil and Water, they just finished up their tree and plant sale. They always sounds, their plant or their tree sale, it always sounds like it's something that you have to be planting a woods or something like that, but you can really go there and get a pretty good deal on plants when they're doing their plant sale in the spring. They sell quite a few. They also did some pollinator plants this year to work with pollinators to improve those in the environment, because we need bee pollinators out there for what we do. And then they also are doing, in the process, we had helped vote this month on, they do an environmental poster contest for the elementary schools in the county, and with our education coordinator at Farm Bureau, and get into the counties, and then they offer prizes and stuff for the posters that are done. This year it was a out in the woods kind of program that they had to do. So those are the things that they have been working with. I don't know any more on the recreation and trails. I've not seen a report on that. And I don't know who's in charge of Black Hawk Hills anymore.
Same dude.
Is he still? I don't know if they've met or not, or we haven't heard
I
anything.
got a report from him.
Okay. Other than that, I don't have really anything. Mr. Helms, you get an opportunity if you want.
I have nothing.
Okay. I don't have any new business on the agenda. Any old business that needs to be taken care of. So we have an executive session here this evening, and I would indulge you to allow Andrea and Beth to be part of our executive session this evening, since they've worked quite a bit with us. We have to discuss.
I move to move into executive session.
Thank you.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you very much.